In this video, we are going to go over my 3-month debt update. If you are interested in seeing the progress that I've made so far on paying down $62,000 of consumer debt, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Jen, and on October 2nd of 2025, I had posted my debt confession video. It was the second video that I had ever posted on YouTube, and it is my most watched video on my channel. I will try and link it here in case you are new here and you haven't seen it. It is a little cringy and full of technical difficulties. However, it is a true testament of exactly where I started when I started this journey 3 months ago. I can't even bring myself to watch it. I tried a few days ago. It is really hard to be reminded of exactly how I felt in that time, but that was the purpose of the video, was to document exactly where I was and what I was thinking and what I was feeling. One day I will bring myself to watch the whole thing, but I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. If you are new here, I just wanted to share that I started this journey pretty much from a place of desperation. I felt so over my head and I almost didn't have any other idea of how to get out of this huge mountain of debt that I was in. I was thinking of claiming bankruptcy. I don't know. I kind of felt hopeless, and I decided to share my journey on YouTube, mostly just to document it so I can see where I was starting from and to pretty much encourage me to keep going. I didn't expect to be where I'm at today, and I still have a really long journey ahead of me. I am fully aware of that, but I am going to share every step of the way. So today we are going to go over that spreadsheet that I created 3 months ago, and it listed my consumer debt. Well, really, it just listed my credit cards. I didn't have a few of the loans that I included under monthly bills on there, and I also didn't have my car loan on there. And I just want to clarify, I do have student loans. I do not have them anywhere on this spreadsheet. I am very aware of them. I do not forget about them. I look at them monthly. But it's just not something that I am ready to share just yet, because that's not where my focus is. My focus right now is to get rid of this really high interest consumer debt that I have. And then once I do that, I will work on my student loans. I just wanted to clarify that. I don't really talk about my student loans, but it doesn't mean I don't think about them. It doesn't mean that I'm not aware of them. And it doesn't mean that I don't have intentions on paying them. I do. It's just I need to focus on one thing at a time, and my focus is my consumer debt and mostly my credit cards. I will be adding a few of the smaller loans that I had included under my monthly bills, as well as my car loan, to this spreadsheet, but I will be doing that at the end of the video, because for now I just want to compare apples to apples. So what I am going to do is compare what I shared on October 2nd, and I'm going to list the new balances for those cards. And then I will also be sharing the new spreadsheet that I will be using going forward. So I think that's it. I will go ahead and open up my laptop. I will share my screen. I will share the original spreadsheet, but I did make a condensed version of it to make it easier to follow. And that's the one that I will be updating with the new balances as of the beginning of January. So let's get into it. I had to bring back the emotional support coffee, because looking at these numbers and even looking at the updated numbers is not easy. Even though I know that I'm actively working on this stuff, it is extremely hard to see. I see how much I pay on a monthly basis, and I do look at my balances individually. However, seeing that total number is extremely hard sometimes. And yeah, coffee helps me get through it. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So on the screen, I am sharing the exact spreadsheet that I had shared in that very first debt confession video that I posted. And we can see here that my initial debt was $62,530, or $31 if I round up. And it was saying that it would take me, at the rate that I was going, because I was, up until October, I was only paying the minimums. I had never paid over the minimum on my debt in a really long time. So I was just paying the minimums. I was just pretty much surviving and getting by. I say surviving, but I was really just spending a lot of money on other things and not on my debt. And up until probably the beginning of 2025, I was adding to my debt. I stopped using my credit cards in the beginning of 2025, but even then I was just paying the minimum payments. And it was finally in September when I just felt like I was hopeless. I needed to do something. And that is when I started to really figure out, like, what do I need to do to pay this down? Because I was going to be turning 50 in a few years, and I did not want to keep on working 2, 3, 4 jobs just to make ends meet. And so I knew I needed to do something. And this is where I started. But at that time, when I shared this spreadsheet based off of these calculations, and it was just pretty much paying the minimum payments, I was going to be paying this probably until 2030. And that is if I didn't add anything else to my credit cards. So what I did for this video was I took this information here and I copied it and pasted it to another spreadsheet, and I'm going to share that now. So I took that information, I copied it and pasted it here into this spreadsheet. And I have these empty columns here where I am going to put in the numbers as of January 1st so we can see what the difference is. Also, just to note, one thing that I did change was I did round these all up to the nearest dollar so that we were only working with full numbers and not cents. So for my upgrade loan, in October, the balance that I had was $30,473. Currently, the balance is $29,552. My interest rate did not change. It is the same, so we will just bring it over. My minimum payment also did not change. It's $760, and I will add that here. So next on the list is my Chase credit card. The balance was $14,459. The current balance is $13,622. So this card is the unfortunate one. It was a balance transfer credit card that had 0% interest, I think for 18 months. And when I did the balance transfer, I didn't know what I was doing. I may be 48 years old, and as embarrassing as it is to admit, I am pretty clueless when it comes to how some of this stuff works. It's just the truth. And so when I opened up this credit card and I did this balance transfer, I really didn't consider what it would take to have this amount paid off by the time the interest started. I transferred my balances and I was just like, oh, I've got free monthly money. I freed up monthly money is kind of how it was, because the money that I had put onto this transfer, my minimum payment was like $400. And so when I put it onto this card and I had the balance transfer, my minimum dropped to like $100, and I don't know, it was like $100. And then of course I added stuff to it like an idiot. So now my minimum went up, but the 18 months are coming up. In January, I need to make my first payment at a higher amount, and that will be, I don't know how to explain it. So in my payment that I am making in January is the first one that includes a portion of interest. I have looked at this Chase credit card statement up and down, and I cannot see the breakdown of what amounts will start accruing interest and when. So on the statement that I got in December, it did tell me that $4,000 of this was going to start accruing interest, and the interest rate was posted there. But it also doesn't tell me when the rest of it will start accruing interest. And on my statement from January 1st, there isn't an additional amount yet, but I know it's coming. So I will have to call them and try and get that information. I just have not called them yet. But for right now, the balance is $13,622. So starting this month, the interest is going up, but it's only going to affect the first $4,000 on the card. I don't know how to put that here. So I am just going to add the new interest rate, even though it's not applying to the full amount just yet. But that interest rate is 27.49%. I know, it's ridiculous. And the minimum payment that I need to pay right now in January is $227. And I am expecting that to unfortunately go up as more amounts start to have interest applied. And this was the reason why one of my goals was to be able to open up a different balance transfer card. I just need to do research and know what I'm doing before I do it and be able to break up that payment so that I pay it in full before it starts accruing interest again. I made a huge mistake with this card. I understand that. I am fully aware of that. And at this point, there isn't a whole lot I can do besides just aggressively work on paying this down. So the next one is my Capital One credit card. The balance was $4,869. There was a reoccurring charge on this credit card that I did not move over early enough to make a difference. And so unfortunately, the balance on this card is $4,873. So it did not get lowered. The interest rate on here did get a little lower. It's a variable interest rate. All of these cards, I think, have variable interest rates except the upgrade loan. And as of January, the interest rate is 21.4, and my minimum payment is $139. I hope it gets better. It does get better. And so next is my Nordstrom card. My Nordstrom card was $2,493. The current balance is $2,483. The interest rate was 30.15%. The interest rate now is 29.65%. My minimum payment is $89. My PayPal credit card, the balance was $4,451. My current balance is $4,116. My interest rate was 30.39%. It is now 27.74%. My minimum payment is $139. My TJ Maxx card, thank God, some good news, is paid off. So that is now going to be blank. The balance was $1,066. My Express card is the same thing. That one has been paid off. The balance was $1,373. My Sephora card has also been paid off, and that was $1,196. My Apple card was $1,565. The current balance is $1,351. The interest rate went down to 25.74%. My minimum payment was $52. The minimum payment that I am paying now is $313. And that is because I took the minimum payments from the other cards and added it to the Apple card. Plus, on my Apple card, I have reoccurring charges for my Apple Care and iPhone storage. So I also add that to the minimum payment. So I am paying what is being charged every month. So it's not adding to my balance. And the last thing that I had on here was my Affirm loans. The balance on that was $584. And I also paid that off. So if we come in here, the total for all these credit cards was $62,534 in October. And currently the balance is $55,997. So that is a difference of $6,537. So in the last 3 months on this debt, I have paid down $6,537. So even though there are some losses in the first few cards, I did make some progress. And now I know what I need to focus on for the next 3 months to get this to be even lower. Yeah, I mean, So I'm just going to be honest with how I'm feeling looking at this right now. As I pay my monthly payments, it was exciting because I was pretty much paying off a card every month, right? Like I paid off my Express card one month, I paid off my Sephora card one month, I paid off my TJ Maxx card last month. It was super exciting. And it kind of felt like I was making a ton of progress. And when I come in here and I look at all the cards together and the full amounts and where I started and where I ended, it is very discouraging when I am paying hundreds of dollars every month to these cards and then I see the balance only went down, I don't know, $25, $50, $100. It's a little discouraging to see, and it just makes me realize the damage that I did here and how much I am actually paying in interest. It's very easy paying the minimum payments, not looking at the statements, not realizing that interest is accruing and your balances are not moving. It's very, very easy to do that. I did that for years. And so now paying attention and seeing that I'm making these payments every month and my balance is like moving just a few cents, that's hard, but it's also good to see that I paid what I did pay and I eliminated some credit cards. So that makes me feel good. I'm just waiting for the day that when I pull up the spreadsheet, there is a larger difference in where I started and where I'm at. But I know, like I said, I know that this journey is not an easy one, and I know it's not a short one. This is going to be a few years, and I still do have my goal to pay this off by the time I turn 50, which is in November of 2027. And I just got to keep pushing on. It is hard to look at. It is just as hard today to look at this as it was in October. The only difference is that I have a lot more hope now because I have seen where my efforts are going. I have seen that there is that glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel because I have paid some of this off. It just doesn't feel like I'm doing enough. And yeah, I mean, I know my goal now is to pay hopefully $800 to $1,000 extra a month. I am really pushing to 1,000 or more. What I did to try and make myself feel better was I tried to put this into like a debt payoff spreadsheet. And I mentioned it in my last video that the budget spreadsheet that I was using had an update. And one of those updates was a debt payoff plan tab. And so I am going to share that now. And on that spreadsheet, I have also added some of the extra loans that I had that I didn't originally have on here. Let me pull that up. So this is the spreadsheet. This is the setup tab of that spreadsheet for the debt payments. And this has the same information that we just went over. The only difference is I moved my US Bank Reserve line, which is this one, my GEM Med Spa payment, my North Shore Medical Payment Plan, and my auto loan. I moved those from monthly bills to debt. I originally had them under my monthly bills because it was just easier for me to digest. But if I'm being honest and real, these are debts. These are debts that I want to also have paid off by the time that I turn 50. So it just made sense to move them from monthly bills to my debt payment section. And so those are here, and we can go over them really quick. My US Bank Reserve line, my balance is $1,978. My minimum payment is $50. My interest rate is 21.9. My GEM Med Spa payment plan is $609. That's the balance. My minimum payment is $39.60, so I should just change that to $40. My interest rate is 16.96% on that. My North Shore Medical payment plan is $963. That's the balance. My minimum payment is $72, and there's no interest on that one. And then my auto loan, I have $16,716 left. My minimum payment is $659. My interest on that is 5.78%. So this is a very true picture of the debt that I have minus my mortgage and my student loans. But this is all the debt that I have. One other caveat, I do have a 401k loan. it is automatically taken out of my paycheck before I even get my paycheck. I cannot pay that loan early unless I have the full amount. Like, I cannot send extra money to it. I don't know why. It just says I can only pay it early in full. So I am not worrying about that one right now either, because I cannot do anything about it until I pay this off. I think I have 4 years on that. So ideally, once I pay this, I would save the money to pay the balance on that one. But I don't talk about that one either because it is automatically taken out of my check. I don't include it on any of this. However, this is the debt that I'm actively trying to pay down with my extra income. And so up here, I have my start date of January 2026. I have my minimum payments. It's $2,487 or $88. Which one didn't? Oh, this one. Let's make that a whole number. Okay, so that's $2,488. That's my minimum payment. I am working on sending $800 to $1,000 extra to my debt a month. And so I put $1,000 here because realistically, I'm going to have to send $1,000 if I want to even try and make my goal. And we'll see that in a minute. So I added the $1,000 as an additional monthly payment. Now, if I go over to the debt tab, we will see here pretty much my debt payoff schedule, and it has my whole balance. So my real balance on my debt, including my auto loan and everything else, is $76,365. And this is why I didn't originally include it, because that number makes me want to feel like throwing up. And it's scary to look at, and it kind of makes me feel defeated all over again. But I know it's just because I added those additional debts to have visibility to it. The other thing I have here is my payoff method, and I put custom because it kept trying to get me to pay off that medical loan in the beginning because it's small, but it's got 0% interest. And so I put that last, and that's why I have it as a custom. And so I did that. And if I pay it off, it does say that I'm paying $16,000 in interest, actually $16,327 in interest. And I think if I did the avalanche method, which I can do it here, it saves me a small amount, like $300 in interest. And if I do the snowball method, it's a lot more interest. So doing it the way that I had it listed, or the way that I want to pay them off, it makes it a little bit easier for me to have some wins in the very beginning. So my first ones that I'm going to try and pay off is still the Apple Card, as well as my Gem Med Spa payment plan, which originally I wasn't even planning to pay off early, but I will. And that gives me an end date of March of 2028. Now, if you remember, I want to have this paid off by November of 2027. So I'm a little off track if I only pay $1,000 extra a month. So I will need to come up with other options or even more extra income to get this paid down by November 2027. Also, this is also putting that full interest amount to my Chase credit card, and that's keeping that minimum payment at $227, which I know it will go up once more interest starts adding. So it's not 100% accurate, but it gives me a good idea of where I stand and what my end date is. My goal is to get this date to be earlier, to be like November of 2027. So we will see. That's my new thing now. But for right now, this is where I'm at. This is my plan. And this is my new consumer debt amount. So it's very, like I said, it's very defeating, because if I looked at that other spreadsheet, from the 62,000, my amount was 55. But now if I add in the other debts, my real amount is $76,365. So I'm not sure if this is the update everybody was hoping for. This is definitely not what I wanted to face and admit to, but I have made progress. I know that. I have a plan that I think is very doable. It sucks. It will suck to pay almost $3,500 a month to my debt, but that's what I need to do to be able to go into my 50s with no consumer debt. And that's my plan. That's what I want to do. I want to hit my 50s and not have all this crappy debt following me along. Then I'll have to focus on my student loans. But that one's easier for me to accept. It's a lot too, but it's easier for me to accept versus this credit card debt. So that's where I'm at today. Like I said, it might not have been the update everybody was hoping for, but it is my true, honest picture of debt. And, you know, I am learning to face everything as I go here. And that's what I have. If you are interested in following me along or continuing to follow along, I would love to have your company as I go through this debt payoff journey. If you are on a debt payoff journey too, I am here to support you. I am here to keep you company because I know debt payoff journeys can be super lonely. At least mine has been. I don't go out anymore. I don't really do a whole lot because I'm trying to put most of my money to my debt. I have a very small eating out budget. We've gone through this already before, but I don't go out much with my friends, at least not in that type of social setting where I have to spend money. So it is a very lonely journey, but it is necessary to be able to reach that financial freedom. So if this is something you're interested in following along with, please feel free to subscribe. Please feel free to like the video. That way I know this is content you want to see and you want to continue seeing. I am going to continue showing up. I will be here every week showing where I'm at, showing my budget, showing my income from my full-time job as well as my side hustles, as well as showing my expenses every paycheck, every month. As things change, I will share that as well. I am an open book. I am doing this for documentation for myself, for my kids, but also to help anybody out there that finds themselves in a similar situation or they feel stuck the way that I did months ago. I want to show you that you're not alone. I'm in just as bad of a position as others are. And if you allow your debt to control you and make you feel shame and embarrassed, it will eat you alive. I have learned that. So as hard as it is to share this information, it removes that embarrassment and that shame from it for me. And it does help me feel a little bit more in control. I don't feel scared anymore and I don't feel hopeless anymore. Even with this number, I just don't feel that way anymore. And I do owe it to sharing it here. And it has also held me accountable. It's embarrassing to share these numbers and to not see them go down. So yeah, I'm going to do what I need to do to pay this debt so that my next update is a lot more positive. Anyway, I'm going to start rambling now and I don't want to. So that's what I get for not having a script when I'm talking. I just start talking about everything. Either way, like I said, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be me. And I hope you like that and I hope you follow along and I hope you join me on this journey. I will share my next update in April 1st or around then. I will be doing this every 3 months and I will share everything in between. As always, I appreciate you for being here with me and for cheering me on, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.